This is a Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 Plus. Okay, coming in from, well, no one, it's mine. I own it. Right, this is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. This is the superior of the two versions that were put out by Samsung about 4 months ago. There was obviously the Tab S7, and this is the S7 Plus, the big boy. The reason for purchase is because over Christmas Samsung did a little sale where you were able to get cash back, and they dropped the price considerably, and it made it much more of an attractive purchase. And I don't need an upgrade, but I want an upgrade, as per usual, being a tech addict. So this is the box. It's quite a small box at that, but it's a box nonetheless. And we're going to dig into it and see what things are like inside. Should have another battery. Sorry, forgot to plug my camera in and the battery's died. Right, okay, so I did those. Taking the top of the box off is always a bit of a pain. Well, that wasn't easy. Right. That box must be compromised. There's a big thud there. Hopefully that means it's not smashed. Okay, so this launched on the 5th of August of this year. This is the 12.4 inch version. And inside the box we obviously have the little S Pen, which is notably bigger than the previous years. It is plastic, but we'll come back to that. We have a travel adapter, which is a 2 amp travel adapter. Okay, and then we get a power cable, something that is not going to happen in the future, it would appear, which is USB Type-C. I should mention that, I suppose. We have a little box with a SIM card ejector tool, which I suppose is also a microSD card ejector tool. This is not the 4G or 5G version. We have some materials for reading. It doesn't feel like there's anything else in under there. And we'll just get straight to the tablet itself. It seems a shame to rip this. Right, so we have a 12.4 inch glass display here that's Super AMOLED. It's 120 Hertz, which means it should be superbly smooth. And then along here we have, there's little holes here for you to clamp on the keyboard accessory that gets middling reviews for the amount of money that it costs. There's some pogo plugs here for bouncing the thing off the ground. We have some speakers here. It doesn't look particularly nice along here because there is a bit of protective plastic, which I'm not going to remove right now, but I will do later on. A USB Type-C connector. That's where the microSD card goes, and then there's a microphone hole here, volume rocker here, and the power button there. And around this side we have another microphone here and the 2 speakers. Round the back we have a serial number, the magnetic strip where this fits to, and thankfully now I'm noticing the S Pen isn't fully round or flat either side, because that was one of my pet peeves about the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6, was you always had to look at it to try and identify which way it went round so that you could dump it on the back. Whereas this, it's pretty obvious. Also the magnetic parts here, the connections, feel an awful lot more secure. If I try and pull that down, it's not going to come off quite as easily as it did previously with the S6. But that's something we'll look at another date. There's a plastic strip across here. It actually feels like it's quite nice. It feels like a perspex as opposed to plastic. Higher quality. Then we have the camera array, which is a 13 megapixel f-stop 2.0 with a 26mm wide-angle lens, and the other is a 5 megapixel with an f-stop of 2.2. It does video in 4K at 30 frames per second, so that's a pretty stonky camera for a tablet. Still, maybe not as amazing as some of the other ones out there when it comes to phones, but for a tablet, it's more than enough for snapping a business card. Then we have sound by AKG. Which is kind of nice, I suppose. And we have an antenna band down here and down here. And then the whole back is aluminium, which is really nice. It feels really good under the fingers. Feels like a very premium build. Well, for the kind of money that you're spending on this, you'd like to think so. And then here you can see the actual tablet itself is 5.7 millimeters wide, which is kind of nice. Then dimension wise, it's 285 millimeters across here and 185 millimeters down that way. And of course it weighs in at 575 grams and has a full aluminium frame inside it. So it's really quite nice. I'm quite impressed by it. The screen, as you can see, there is a decent amount of bezel around the side, so you're not, whenever you're holding it, you're not going to accidentally touch the screen too easily, which is a resolution of 1752 by 2800, and that gives you a 16 by 10 ratio and 266 ppi density, which is kind of nice, I suppose. Given it's an AMOLED display, it should be gorgeous to look at. Up here we have the front-facing camera. On the S6, I believe it was over one of these end, whichever one you want to pick. And that's an 8 megapixel with an f-stop at 2.0. It's a 26mm wide-angle lens in there, and it does 1080p at 30 frames per second. There is no 3.5mm headphone jack as with the previous model. However, the speakers, as we said, were tuned by AKG. So the S7 has the fingerprint sensor built into the power button. This one doesn't have it. It's an under-screen power button. See if we've got any juice in the juice box. And it's a big, gorgeous display that just about fits on the screen. I don't have to move the camera back in order for you to see it. So obviously it runs Android, and we are being given a bunch of different international welcomes. And we get to pick our language, which will go with English, United Kingdom. Select our country, United Kingdom. And we have to restart. Right, okay. So it's Android 10, and it should come with One UI 2.5. I don't know yet if there is an actual upgrade to One UI 3.0. It would be nice that such a premium end model would get the update really quickly. So we've got some bits and pieces to do here as we boot up, and I'll zip through that pretty quickly. And what we'll do is we'll not copy just yet, so we can get the actual vanilla start up. If you're upgrading from another one, you can download your information from Samsung Backup. We'll skip the Google sign-in for now, and we'll skip again. Now, obviously the pen sticks to the side as well, just like that, which is kind of nice. Does the other side too? It does. There's all. I suppose you can stick it all sorts of places, but not over the volume rocker or the power button. That's all right. So choose your search provider right from the word go, which is kind of nice. We'll just go with Google for the meantime, but we have Privacy Wall that I've never heard of, Microsoft Bing, info.com, and then Google. We'll skip setting up Protect Your Tablet. Review additional apps. Samsung Global Goals is being installed, whatever that happens to be. And then we go sign into our Samsung account, which we don't need to do right now. We're going to skip that too. We just want to see what's on it from the word go. Alright, some big sound coming out of the speakers, which is kind of nice. Right, so I haven't installed anything. We will do that after it's updating a bunch of Google Play Store and things like that. I want to do all kinds of system updates if there happen to be any before I install all of my bits and pieces. So yeah, initially the screen looks gorgeous, you know, looking at this background that they use to illustrate just how wonderful the colours flow together. I'm filming this in 4K, so if you're watching it in 4K, you should hopefully be able to get a bit of an idea of just how gorgeous it actually looks. We're going to go zooming in to see what the pixels look like the closer we get. Okay, so as you can see from the end of the stylus, we are in pretty close, and it's quite difficult to make out any pixels around here, although you can obviously see the effect that so far zoomed in has on the actual quality of the camera. But where you go around the edges here, we don't have too much in the way of jaggedy edges, which is kind of nice. Coming back out again, you can see just how far in we were. So yeah, right from the word go, well, obviously we have Netflix and some Microsoft stuffs installed. We have the Samsung suite along the bottom here. We've got Clock Calculator, the Game Launcher, the Game Store, and Play Store with some notifications for updating, and a bunch of stuff from Google. Bringing us up here, I don't know what Samsung Global Goals is. Thank you for helping us reach our global goals. With this app you can learn more about the United Nations Global Goals, earn to give, and donate to support specific goals that you care about. Okay, so it's some sort of World Harmony charity thing. YouTube Music is on there, Netflix, Spotify, and then in the Samsung library we have tips, Samsung members, AR Zone. So a bunch of typical Samsung stuff that we'd expect, and you can expand it with the Samsung shop as well, which is actually the Galaxy Store I'm meaning. Wherever that happens to be, it's here, it's not in the Samsung collective. So the stylus is obviously one of the big things that people are going to be most excited about, and the Pen Up app. It's been a while since I've done any of these sorts of things, so you have to sign your life away in order to get into this. That's right, you can use it to colour in. Isn't that nice? Start colouring. Okay, so we get scribbly sounds that come out of there. We'll give him okay, so that can amuse your kids for years, just doing that. Responsiveness, this does feel very fluid. I think there's a tiny amount of feedback, but also that's obviously a felt tip pen. There's a bunch of different tools up here that we can play with. And then the Notepad is one of the handiest things. So we add a note and we are told all sorts of things before we actually get in here. And we can change our pen styles and things, and highlighters and highlight certain areas and things. It's really just a very, very handy way of doing things, and the S Pen tends to be compatible with OneNote and the likes of that as well. I'm just noticing at the end of the S Pen there, you seem to be able to take the top off, but that's not happening. The nib of the S Pen, I've had to change it a couple of times on my S6, and I did notice that there aren't any in the S7 Plus's box, which is a bit of a shame. So maybe it's a more durable nib that's softer and is not going to die quite as easily. Ooh, Samsung Daily. So the battery life should be pretty good on this when compared to other tablets. It's got a 10,090 milliamp hour battery. Of course, there are options for you to be able to play with that battery, which they have moved again. Device care. That learn what you do, and then you can actually monkey around with it and change it so that you have maximum power saving and optimized and adaptive power saving. Then charging, you can protect the battery as well, which means it only charges to a maximum of 85%, which I will have to turn on whenever I get this set up fully. It's very useful, obviously with a 10,000 milliamp hour battery inside this, but a massive screen. It'll be interesting to see whether or not this gets through a full day of work. If it doesn't, then you can turn that back on again and get a bit more out of your battery, but that means you're probably running your battery down fully, which is maybe going to decrease the lifetime of the tablet, but I would imagine it's still going to last you 2 years. So we'll have a quick check and see if there are any updates to the One UI 3. That gives us, well, there is an update, so that gives us improved stability, Dolby Atmos. Yeah, it's just increases the security patch to November 2020. So fair enough, we'll let that go ahead in the background. And we'll have a quick look at the camera. So if I take a picture of old Ash over here, and then we'll go into here as well. This is just on auto mode. If we go to more, we have a single take where you take your camera and automatically captures a wide variety of things, which is a very handy little function. We have a pro mode, panoramic mode, food mode, night mode, because you can take this into a restaurant with you and take a picture of your dinner just to be louder than the people sitting next to you. Live focus, pro video, hyperlapse, and live focus mode. Obviously there's Bixby Vision as well for picking shots for you, which is actually quite good. I use it from time to time on my S10. And then you can highlight ones that you tend to use more often. If you take pictures of your dinner recently, you can move your food down to the quick launch menu down here, which is very handy. We can go to wide angle as well, which will take a picture of all the gear across here. And I'm sure that looks absolutely gorgeous. We jump into the gallery and zooming in. Well, I suppose whenever you get in quite close, it looks alright through the viewfinder of the camera, but I can see it's a wee bit washed out in that mode, in that ultra wide mode. But in the regular mode, there's a good collection of detail and color representation that loses just a little whenever you get in quite close on it. But yeah, the camera is excellent in obviously these ideal conditions, because there's studio lights pumped down here. It'll be interesting to see whether or not it manages that outside of here. So that's us for the Tab S7 Plus. I'm going to go and take it away and set it up and start using it for the next couple of weeks as my main tablet. In about a week's time I should hope to record some thoughts and a comparison between the S6 and the S7 Plus, as I did with the S4 and the S6. And already holding it like this for a wee while, I can feel the weight difference. It is actually quite heavy. I suppose it's about half a kilogram right there that I'm constantly balancing on my fingers. So my hand is starting to feel it a wee bit. So using it like this is going to become a little bit stale after a while, because it's quite a heavy tablet. Obviously adding on the cases that come with it, whether it be the keyboard case or the book case, will make a huge difference. But it's cold as well because I'm leaving fingerprints. But yeah, I think it's a beautifully made lump of gear, and I'm proud to be sitting with it, because it does look the picture. It's very minimalist round the back here. The Samsung etching is a wee bit of a mirrored idea to it, which they've done a few times before, I've seen. But I'm really impressed by this bit of perspex. It adds a decent quality feel to what I suppose last time around it was a bit of a groove in there, but we'll come to that in our comparison video in a week or so. So let me know if you have any questions or anything you want me to look at in particular. Hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. And remember to tune in for the Tech Addicts podcast on a Sunday afternoon, and then again on a Wednesday morning for TalkSport and with Inspect Your Gadget. And other than that, take care.